Hello everyone, back tuning into today's first video, doing GWV Sunday Round Up for today's first video. So it's going to be your eclectic mix of Matt for your Sunday afternoon viewing pleasure. We're primarily going to be focusing on the coming few days, actually, though, for this particular Sunday roundup. So we'll be focusing primarily on the heat and also on risk of thunderstorms over the next few days. It's going to be a very interesting sort of 4 or 5 days coming up. We're going to have very hot upper air temperatures, very high temperatures on the surface, and quite a bit of instability as well. So this could be a rather classic sort of thundery scenario. But we'll have a look at things like sea surface temperature anomalies and also some of the indexes, SOI, NAO, that kind of thing. So hopefully you'll find it interesting and informative. The second video update coming up later on this afternoon will be the ECWF, Meteo France and DWD seasonal model update, and that's taking us through the next few months. I'll be with you later on this afternoon. Right, so we'll start off here, though. We're going to have a look at the latest disturbance area in the tropical Atlantic Ocean. This is from the National Hurricane Center. We've got a little disturbance area just here, this yellow X just there. So let's see what they're saying about that at the National Hurricane Center. So it's disturbance 1, and it's got a 10% chance of cyclone formation in the next 48 hours, so very low chance of cyclone formation in the next 2 days. A tropical wave located about 300 miles east of the central Bahamas is producing disorganized showers and a few thunderstorms. Although environmental conditions are currently unfavorable for development, they are expected to become a little more conducive over the next few days while the disturbance moves westward at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Interests in the central and northwest Bahamas and the southern Florida Peninsula and the Florida Keys should monitor the progress of this system. In the next 48 hours, it's got just a 10% chance of cyclone formation. In the next 5 days, it has a 20% chance of cyclone formation. So it doesn't look like this is going to develop into anything significant. But with these disturbance areas, you do have to keep an eye on them. They can pick up moisture quite quickly, and they can sort of blow up into significant features over fairly short time scales. So at the moment, it doesn't look like that disturbance area is going to do a great deal, but needs to be kept a close eye on. Sea surface temperature anomalies in the Pacific and the Atlantic Ocean next. So this is how things were looking with the oceans last week. Got our 3 areas of interest. We've got the Equatorial Pacific Ocean just there. We've got the Northern Pacific Ocean just here, and we've got the Northern Atlantic Ocean over there. That's how things were looking with the oceans last week, when we did last week's Sunday Roundup. This is the latest. So first of all, dealing with the ENSO region, we have seen further cooling of the sea surface temperature anomalies in the eastern part of the Equatorial Pacific Ocean. See this blue area just here, that has deepened slightly and expanded out, so the temperature anomalies have become a little bit colder and over a wider area compared to last week. It looks like we have a very minor signal for a cold event there, a landing event beginning to develop. Again, notice all of these colder than average sea surface temperature anomalies just here to the south of the Equatorial Pacific from Chile, and then going out into the southern Pacific Ocean. So when you get those cold anomalies gathering there, that can sometimes be a precursor to a La Nina. More on that in a moment. Going further north, look how warm the sea surface temperature anomalies are in the northeastern Pacific now. So that was the situation last week. This is how things are looking now. Exceptionally warm sea surface temperature anomalies up here. That is something that we've seen over the past few years up there in the northeastern Pacific, but not quite to that extent. That really is an exceptionally warm sea surface temperature anomaly that they've got up there. Now, if that persists through to the winter, a lot of the sort of milder winters that we've had over the past few years, a lot of those have been associated with that big warmer than average area of sea surface temperature anomalies in the northeastern Pacific, what it tends to do is sort of blow up the jet stream a little bit and send it on a northwest to southeast trajectory through the states. So it can be a cold signal for northern eastern parts of the states. But as that cold air pulls out over the Atlantic, then the jet stream can really blow up, and it can send cyclogenesis across the Atlantic and into northern and western parts of Europe. So if you want a colder winter, you probably want to see that area of warmer than average sea surface temperature anomalies cooling down up there in the northeastern Pacific. It may well do, actually, because I don't think it get much warmer than that. That's about as warm as it can possibly get, I would have thought, up there in the northeastern Pacific. So the only place to go from that will possibly be cooler. And if the La Nina gets going, of course, it is possible that that could have a cooling effect on the wider Pacific Ocean, although there's a bit of a time lag on that. So that would be more likely to happen next year, that you would see the wider sort of northern Pacific Ocean begin to cool down as a result of the La Nina. Remember what El Nino and La Nina do? Basically, it's the Earth's thermostat at work. So you're in El Nino, you're turning the thermostat up, you are releasing heat via the equatorial Pacific Ocean into the rest of the oceans, and then distributing it around the world via all of the other oceans. When you are in a La Nina, you are turning the thermostat down, and you are sort of pushing out colder temperatures via the oceans. So these El Nino and La Nina events do have an effect on the wider oceans, particularly on the Pacific Ocean. So if we was to see a La Nina getting going through the remainder of this year, that will probably have a cooling effect on the wider Pacific Ocean next year. CFS V2 continues to look pretty bullish about this La Nina now. So it's done a big flip over the past few weeks. It is now going into solidly sort of weak La Nina territory. So this is the region 3.4 forecast from the CFS V2. Got the temperature anomalies on the side, and the dates through monthly periods are on the bottom. So that's July, that's where we are right now. That's October, that's January 2020. Where we are right now is at ENSO neutral. So the next few months, if CFS is right, we find the black dash line dropping down to La Nina territory. Half a degree below average is the all-important number to get, and La Nina designated, same with El Nino. You have to be at that all-important half a degree, either below or above average, and you have to be there at that point over 5 tri-monthly periods. So there is very strict criteria to get these events designated. By October, CFS V2 does have us at that all-important half a degree below average threshold, and then the black dash line actually drops a little bit more to the end of the year. Normally these events, be they La Nina or El Nino, peak around Christmas. So that's going down towards a degree below average now, with that black dash line. That is into sort of solid weak La Nina territory. There are a few ensemble members, there are outlier members, there are a few ensemble members that are actually going for moderate or strong La Nina conditions by the end of the year, which would be a real turnaround on what was expecting a couple of months ago. However, they are outliers. They're not well supported by the other ensemble members within the CFS ensemble pool. But it does look as though a transition into a weak La Nina is likely now through the autumn. And by October, it does look like we could well be at a weak La Nina territory. I first picked up on this possibility in April when we did April's ENSO update. Have a watch of that. So if we do go into a La Nina through the course of this autumn, then remember where you heard it first. GWV in April is the first people to start talking about the possibility of a La Nina in the second half of the year, or one of the first anyway. SOI is looking like this. Is Southern Oscillation Index. Remember, this is just an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state in the Southern Ocean. It's not driving anything, just tells you what the atmosphere is doing. When the SOI is negative, then the atmospheric setup will be reflective of an El Nino. When the SOI is positive, then the atmospheric setup will be reflective of La Nina. So we've been through quite a strong period of negativity of the SOI actually over the past few weeks. Had some very negative numbers through this July. For example, got the 11th of July just there going down to -19, the 12th of July going down to -20, 14th of July going down to -26.22, very negative. Indeed. Coming up to the more latest numbers, though, we are beginning to see that the SY is starting to ease off a little bit with its negativity. So, had the 17th and 18th of July come out -11 and -12, but then the 19th of July comes out at -6. These are provisional, by the way, these numbers, but they don't tend to change greatly. Then we've got the 20th of July coming out at -2, and the 21st of July also coming out at -2.46. So we are beginning to see that a weakening of the negativity of the SY. It is still in its negative territory. Remember, it's measuring the air pressures between Tahiti and Darwin. By the way, they are the air pressures for Tahiti and also Darwin just there. So it's measuring the air pressures and then coming out with an index number based on those air pressures. So we have had very much negativity of the SOI over the past few weeks. That tells us that the atmosphere has been in a strongly El Nino type setup. That's beginning to ease off now, seemingly. Not yet going into La Nina territory, but certainly beginning to ease off a little bit from that very negative period. You can see that on this graph that the 30-day SOI average, which is this red line, that's just beginning to ease up a little bit from where it bottomed out just there, starting to lift up slightly, though that it still is in very negative thresholds. So we should wait and see what happens there. The SOI is still kind of in conflict, or the atmosphere, I suppose, is still kind of in conflict with the oceans, but it does look as though the CFSV2 anyway wants to start to shift us towards a La Nina through the remainder of the summer and into the autumn. Remember, we're only talking about a weak La Nina at the moment, but if that happens, then we should see these SOI numbers becoming increasingly positive over the next few weeks, so we keep a very close eye on it. North Atlantic oscillation observed and forecast chart is looking like this. So the NEO, again, just an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state, not driving anything. Just tells you what the atmosphere is doing in the North Atlantic. It's been in its negative phase since around the third week of April, actually. So I've had a long run of NAO negativity. When the NAO is negative, then you're going to tend to have high pressure towards Iceland and Greenland. You tend to have low pressure towards the Azores in the middle of the Atlantic. When the NAO is positive, it's reverse, and you'll have low pressure around Iceland and high pressure through the Azores. And that is kind of like our default state, particularly so in winter. Positive NAO is the default state for the Atlantic. So a negative NAO is really an abnormal setup for the Atlantic. The default state for the North Atlantic is a positive NAO, low pressure around Iceland, high pressure around the Azores, especially in winter, which strengthens the westerlies, and it's the reason that we tend to have mild winters in the north and the west of Europe, with westerly winds coming off the Atlantic. Anyway, the NEO has been in its negative phase over the past few months, so the whole of May and the whole of June had a negative NEO. That's where we are right now, well into the second half of July, and we're still negative with the NEO. However, changes are afoot over the next few days, but certainly by the end of this coming week, it looks like the NEO should actually be weekly positive. That will be the first time the NEO has been in its positive phase at all since like the third week of April. So it's been a long time coming, but it does look as though we will go weekly positive with the NEO for a few days anyway, later this week. After that, we've got a lot of scatter within the GFS ensembles. So we have got these ensemble members down here, but they're going back into negative territory. We also have the ensemble members here that are sending the NEO more positive as we go through towards the end of July and the beginning of August. Certainly it looks as though the NAO is on the move. It looks as though we are coming out of this prolonged period of negativity of the NAO and possibly starting to move towards a positive NAO for August. That would mean that we have a fundamental shift in the weather pattern. A positive NAO in the summer in August can mean two things. I'll explain this in other videos. It could mean that we go into quite an unsettled westerly phase, and relatively cool westerly winds bring areas of low pressure. Remember, in the winter, westerlies are going to be mild, but in summer, westerlies will actually be one of the cooler wind directions. Westerlies in the summer will always be cooler, really, than easterlies or southeasterlies of the continent. The reverse is true in winter. So we could go into rather cool westerly unsettled phase through August. The alternative, though, is that the Azores high strengthens to such a degree that that builds up a ridge across the west of Europe. That's kind of like what happened last summer through June and July. So positive NAO in the summer is not necessarily guaranteed to be unsettled. In terms of the Arctic oscillation, that also looks like it's shifting into its positive phase. In fact, it's already very slightly positive. Again, the black line shows where we've been with the AO. The red lines at the end where the GFS ensembles are forecasting NAO to go. That's where it is right now, just very, very weakly positive. In the next couple of days, next few days, it actually goes a little bit negative again. But then as we go up towards the start of August, most of the GFS ensemble members are sending the NAO, the AO, I should say, positive. When the Arctic oscillation is positive, you'll have low pressure developing over the North Pole, and when the AO is negative, of course, you'll have blocking high pressure over the North Pole. So we've had both of the indexes negative through much of this summer so far, which tells us we have had a blocking signal, and we've had high pressure towards Iceland, that kind of area in the North Atlantic, with a weakened Azores high and a displaced Azores high. But that could be coming to an end, or it looks like it is coming to an end for August. So it looks like August will be doing something rather different compared to what we've seen so far this summer. But we don't yet know what the impacts of this shift in the sort of fundamental weather pattern in both the Arctic and the North Atlantic. We don't know what this shift is actually going to mean yet for the weather during August, but it does look as though August will be significantly different with the AO and the NAO compared to what we've had so far through this summer, and even going back to the end of the spring in May. Right, let's have a look at the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. So the red line here is a 30-year upper air temperature average. Looking at Milton Keynes today. So temperatures on the up. That's where we are right now, about or maybe even slightly below average with the upper air temperature. But the trend is all up over the next few days, reaching a peak around Wednesday or Thursday. Dates on the bottom of the graph, of course, reaching a peak around Wednesday or Thursday at around 20 degrees at 850 HPA. That is very hot air surging northwards out of North Africa and Spain, up the western side of Europe. Classic Spanish plume. Lasting with those hot upper air temperatures for a few days. They do come down from that peak, but still pretty warm. So we get the peak of the upper air temperatures just there. They drop to that sort of level in the second half of the week, but it does take quite a while to push through the genuinely cooler air. It's not until around Saturday that the upper air temperatures have returned back close to average. And after that, actually the remainder of July and going through the first week of August, is the upper air temperatures are coming out around or maybe even slightly below average. So there's no sign of another surge of heat before the end of the first week of August, let's say. It looks like once this hot weather is over at the end of this coming week, the final days of July and the first week of August going to something quite a lot cooler with the upper air temperatures. That would be reflected on the surface as well. Precipitation-wise, lots of dry weather coming up until around the middle of the week, and then the risk of thunderstorms increases as we get this peak in the temperature begins to come down. Have got these precipitation spikes, that would be telling us there's an increasing risk of thunderstorms through the middle and second half of the week. More on that in a moment. And then after that, as we go into this cooler stuff, it does look rather unsettled again, actually, as we go into the closing days of July and the first week of August. It does look like it could be rather cool and unsettled at the moment for that period. But of course, that's extending range stuff. It's unreliable. That certainly seems to be the way that the GFS ensembles are trending, rather cool and unsettled, probably with an increased westerly flow off the Atlantic as the AO and the NAO go into their positive phases, which is what we were just talking about a moment ago, of course. Temperature anomalies from the 21st to the 29th of July, significantly warmer than average. It's going to be a hot week, not just for the UK, but for the vast majority of Europe as well. So it's going to be a very warm week, undoubtedly. Precipitation anomalies from the 21st to 29th of July. A little bit wetter than average for the north and west of Scotland, otherwise very close to average for the UK. Notice most of France, Spain, Portugal, drier than average. For us, it's unstable heat, so there's going to be a risk of thunder getting involved in this, and the precipitation only therefore is for the north a bit wetter than average, for England and Wales close to average. Over in America, east-west split going on, so eastern parts of states coming out with a colder than average temperature anomaly in the weekend. I think we're having quite a cool summer over in the east of the states, although there has been a brief surge of heat over the past few days into the Midwest. But overall, for the anomaly for the week, from the 21st, 29th of July, it's looking a bit cooler than average. Looks pretty hot, though, over on the western side of the state. So a real east-west divide there for America with the temperature anomaly in weekend. Precipitation anomalies in America from the 21st, 29th of July. Varying from state to state, as it often does, but overall most parts of America look like they're pretty dry, actually, particularly so on this Pacific west coast from California up towards Seattle. It does look as though very significantly drier than average over there. Right, so let's have a look at the generic charts then. This is how the GFS is looking for Wednesday. We've got high pressure sitting to our east on Wednesday. Low pressure is out in west, and we're drawing up these hot southerly winds. There's the upper air temperatures for Wednesday. So the country is sort of pushed the 10 Celsius isotherm. That's pushed through the country. That's sitting to our north and west. The 15 Celsius isotherm is up to northern England, and the 20 Celsius isotherm is getting into the south of England. Very hot air, of course, when you get 20 Celsius isotherm. Thursday, low pressure is out to our west again, high pressure to our east. Winds are still from southerly direction, still hot, and possibly beginning to move a troughing towards the country as well on Thursday. So that's when the instability is increasing on Thursday. Very hot upper air temperatures, but this low pressure is sending a weather system in off the Atlantic. Looks like things are really bubbling up, and possibly the atmosphere turning into a bit of a melting pot, and it is possible that could see some severe thunderstorms breaking out. By Friday, I should say, that low pressure has developed into quite a significant feature over Ireland, fueled by the temperature contrast. Of course, you've got the hot southerly winds ahead of it, the eastern side of the low, and you're putting down pretty cool northwesterly winds on the northern side of the low, and the temperature contrast blows this low pressure up into quite a major feature. So heavy thunderstorms, probably severe thunderstorms, pushing northwards and eastwards from Thursday to Friday, and then much cooler air following in from the Atlantic. Upper air temperatures look like that midnight on Friday, so east air is still within the hot air, just western areas looking a lot cooler as those winds turn into the west. Saturday, pushing those westerlies across the country, and lowering the temperature quite substantially. Sunday, a week away, so a little bit of a ridge building across the country. Looks like it should be reasonably nice weekend next weekend, but it will be a lot cooler and fresher compared to the days before. It may try to get a bit of a ridge building through into the early part of the following week. This is Tuesday, 30th of July. A little bit of a ridge building across the country then. And that's still lasting just about into day 10, which is the final day of July, actually, today. So that ridge is still just about holding on. Quite a weak feature, though. Low pressure starting to gather in the Atlantic, and look what happens into the extended range. It turns increasingly unsettled through this first week of August. In fact, you would say quite autumnal there, with a deep area of low pressure heading in off the Atlantic. That really is a very substantial change. This is Tuesday the 6th of August, and it does look really very cool there, and also very unsettled, with quite a lot of heavy rain being brought in off the Atlantic Ocean, frontal rain rather than thundery rain. That's Atlantic rain that we'd be seeing there. And as I say, that does look a little bit on the autumnal side, I have to say. So how the temperatures are looking on that GFS run for the next few days. So tomorrow, becoming quite hot. Temperatures suggested to be between around 25 and 28 degrees across much of central eastern Britain. You can normally add a degree or two onto these charts. So I suspect 29 is achievable tomorrow. Outside chance of 30. 30 is 86 Fahrenheit. But I would say a maximum tomorrow, most likely somewhere across the east of Britain at around 29. Tuesday is a hotter day, so temperatures then ranging from around 27 to 31 on this chart. Again, add a degree on and you probably get to around 33. Somewhere like central London, 33 is 92 Fahrenheit. Wednesday, even hotter in the east and the southeast, temperatures ranging from around 30 to 33 as a maximum. Again, add a couple of degrees on, you might be able to get to 34 or 35. I think mid-30s is achievable through the middle part of this week. Notice we just see the north of France and into the Low Countries. They're looking really hot. Temperatures heading into the upper 30s Celsius, just over the other side of the channel. Thursday looks a bit cooler. This is all down to timings, though. So at the moment, the GFS is pushing this thundery breakdown through on Thursday. If that thundery breakdown is delayed until Thursday night and Friday, then Thursday could be slightly hotter, actually, than Wednesday. It does have the potential on Thursday to be slightly hotter. Notice over on the continent, it's a hotter day on Thursday with temperatures through parts of northern France from around 37 to 39. So again, very close to 40 degrees, just over the other side of the channel. I don't think we'll get 40 degrees into the UK, but certainly if the thunderstorms are delayed on Thursday, if they're delayed until Thursday night or Friday, then despite what this is showing, Thursday could be the hottest day of the week. Temperatures might sort of approach record levels on Thursday. So it's all down to timings of the thundery breakdown. As it is, it's going for a maximum in the southeast corner of around 32 or 33. Again, if you add a degree or so on, you're probably talking about the mid-30s Celsius in that extreme southeast corner. But you notice most places actually seeing the temperatures dropping down into the mid to low 20s away from this far eastern side. And again, that is because it's bringing in that thundery breakdown through the course of Thursday itself. But do keep in mind, if that breakdown is delayed, then Thursday could be the hottest day of the week. That's Friday. By then, we're all into that cooler, fresher air. Temperatures down into the low 20s Celsius. Heat wave is over. This is the GM. So again, we've got those hot southerly winds for Wednesday. Look at the upper air temperatures. 20 Celsius isotherm is covering much of England and Wales. Really hot air coming out of North Africa, France, Portugal and Spain. Classic Spanish plume type situation. That's Thursday. Again, we've got this low pressure out to the west. We've got high pressure to the east. We're in a hot and unstable southerly wind. And as that low pressure gets ever closer, so the risk of thunderstorms will be increasing. 20 Celsius isotherm is still there across southern and eastern parts of the country on Thursday. The change is taking place from Thursday to Friday. This is midnight Friday, where this low pressure is sending a cold front probably across the country. Could be the trigger for violent and severe thunderstorms, but eventually it introduces cooler, fresher air. There's the upper air temperatures at midnight on Friday. Still hot in the east, so with the GEM, there is probably a little bit more potential for Thursday to be a very, very hot day in the south and southeast before those thunderstorms push through and the cooler air follows. Then into next weekend, we're into a different air mass. We push the heat away. We're into an Atlantic airstream, so it looks quite a lot cooler, fresher through the course of next weekend. Possibly a little bit on the unsettled side, though, as we head up towards day 10. ECM, again, high pressure to the east, low pressure to the west on Wednesday, bringing up those hot southerly winds once again. There's the upper air temperatures showing that the 15 Celsius ice firm is up to Scotland, which doesn't happen all that often, actually. To get the 15 Celsius ice firm that far north is relatively unusual. 20 Celsius ice firm is coming into the south of England as well. It looks like we have very hot and unstable air through the middle part of the week. That's Thursday. Now, the ECM does lower the upper air temperatures slightly on Thursday. So that's probably due to a thundery trough. However, on Friday, we actually see those hot upper air temperatures coming back. So the ECM is a little bit different, and it is a bit delayed with the breakdown, something cooler. And actually, it does suggest that the heat builds even more through Thursday and into Friday. I mean, it's not until Saturday, really, that we start to push those cooler upper air temperatures through across the country. That's midnight Saturday with the upper air temperatures. The very hottest of the air being pushed away to our east, cooler, fresher air heading in from off the Atlantic. So the ECM is a little bit different compared to the other two. Slightly lower with the upper air temperatures from Wednesday to Thursday, but hotter with the upper air temperatures from Thursday to Friday. So there's still a little bit of detail on all of this to be sorted out, as you would expect in such an unusual weather pattern. Into weekend... excuse me, into weekend, rather cool with the upper air temperatures, a lot cooler and fresher anyway. Probably still pleasant, but does look a little bit on the unsettled side as we head up towards day 10. Low pressure is starting to move in from the Atlantic. Notice still really hot across France, so we're not at all far away from the hot air, even into the end of the month with the ECM. But we don't bring it back. Actually, we go into a cooler and more unsettled phase as we get towards day 10, which is Wednesday, 31st of July. This is the precipitation forecast based on that ECM run from tometeo.com, just to show you what the thunderstorm potential is over this week. We haven't really looked at these sort of charts so far. We've been talking about this little mini heat wave, but it's time to start thinking about thunder. I'm sure we'll be doing storm watch probably tomorrow even. So for today, we've got all this heavy rain piling into the north and the northwest of the country. England and Wales stays dry, classic north-south split today. Into the early part of the week, so this is taking us through to tomorrow. Lots of dry weather away from the northwest tomorrow. That gets us through to Tuesday. So on Tuesday, there's a lot of dry weather through the day itself, but late Tuesday into the early hours of Wednesday, thunderstorms, this is like the first thundery push, and this is what's introducing that extreme heat with the upper air temperatures, by the way, behind these storms. So late Tuesday into the early hours of Wednesday, thunderstorms breaking out in the southwest. It looks like these ones are moving up the western side. So initially, the risk of storms is through central and western parts of the country, kind of like the Midlands over to Wales, and then up to northwest England, Northern Ireland, southwest Scotland. Could be some really severe thunderstorms there overnight Tuesday into Wednesday. Those storms then trundle off up to Scotland through Wednesday itself. Skies will brighten, it'll turn mostly dry and sunny, I think, during Wednesday, and potentially become very, very hot in the south-southeast during Wednesday afternoon. That's Thursday. More storms are piling into west, so quite a wet week coming up for Ireland and western parts of Scotland, you have to say. Most parts of England and Wales and eastern Scotland staying dry during Thursday. Again, it will be a hot day. And then that takes us through to Friday, and Friday sees thunderstorms then starting to break out widely across the country. We've got storms breaking out widely about across England and Wales during Friday and even into Saturday. Storms then on the eastern side of the country, sort of Friday night into Saturday morning. And then as those storms clear away to the east during the morning on Saturday, then we go into that cooler, fresher westerly wind. So, and they've got sort of showers or long spells of rain coming in off the Atlantic then, in what is a very different air mass from the Atlantic Ocean. So that's just a little indication of what we should be looking out for in the weekend in terms of thunderstorms. Of course, this is likely to change as the week progresses. This is an ever-changing, ever-evolving situation. But it looks as though the initial risk of storms will be Tuesday night, Wednesday morning through central and western Britain. Then Wednesday itself sees those storms trundling off up to Scotland. Turns mainly dry and very hot. Thursday could be a mostly dry and hot day. Again, just depends on how quickly that thundery breakdown takes place. The GFS wants to push a thundery breakdown through on Thursday. The ECM, which is the run we're just looking at with the precipitation forecast, the ECM doesn't push that thundery breakdown through until Friday to Saturday. So it all remains to be revealed, and it is an ever-changing and evolving situation. Finally, just have a look at CFS V2. So these are 500 millibar heights breaking down to week periods. First week period takes us from the 21st to 27th of July. The coming week has above average heights to our east, below average heights to the west. Therefore, we're drawing up that hot southerly wind. It's going to be a very hot, but potentially increasingly thundery week to come. All change for week 2. Look at this. The 28th of July to the 3rd of August has below average heights over to the northeast of the country, above average heights in the middle of the Atlantic. That is unsettled. And it's also cool as well. That really is a big change compared to week 1 with a trough sitting over to the east of the country. If you don't like hot weather, then that looks pretty good. Would be cool and unsettled with that. Week 3, look at this again. Very cool and unsettled, below average heights sitting to our east. Wind would be coming in from a north-northwesterly direction. That's the 4th to the 10th of August. You would say perhaps a tad on the autumnal side. And week 4 looks no better. That's the 11th to the 17th of August with below average heights centred almost over top of the country, above average heights down to the southwest. Jet stream will be doing something a bit like that. So, well, the CFS, if you have a look at the temperature anomalies, this is how week 1 is looking. Obviously, a very hot week coming up from the 21st to the 27th of July. Really hot week. But then week 2 goes cooler than average. So this is 28th of July to the 3rd of August, cooler than average. Week 3 is also cooler than average. And week 4, 11th, 17th of August, that is cooler than average as well. So if the CFS is right, then August could be shaping up to be a very cool and unsettled month. That is just one run of the CFS for today. It's probably an outlier, can't say for sure, but it looks very unusual for what the CFS would normally be showing, which is warmer than average conditions, high pressure dominated weather. So it is quite unusual to see the CFS doing that. But we shall see. It could well be, it could possibly be anyway, that summer ends with this heat wave and August takes us into an early autumn. We shall see. It'll all be revealed. I think what we focus on for the next day or two is going to be the heat and thunder in the next few days, and August can take care of itself. So we're going to be getting much hotter in the coming days, but there will be an increase in risk of thunderstorms. Initially, the thunderstorm risk is in central and western Britain from Tuesday to Wednesday, and then more widely towards the end of the week. But the detail is likely to change for the middle and second half of the week. And it has an important impact, though, with those thunderstorms, how quickly they come through, because that very much is what the temperatures are dependent on. So again, if those storms are delayed to the end of the week, then Thursday in particular could be a very, very hot day. But of course, if we follow the GFS route to push those thunderstorms through on Thursday, then it won't be as hot. So we shall see. It will all be revealed, and we'll be keeping you posted at GWV over the next few days. We'll be back later on this afternoon with the ECMWF, Meteo France and DWD seasonal model update. So come back for that later. That's all for now, though, and thanks for watching.